Hello, I am Kristen, and we are going to be discussing how to use SoapCalc today. When you create a recipe to make soap, you need to know how much lye that you need to mix with your fats or oils to convert them into soap. If you use the wrong amount, you could end up with a sticky mess or a lye heavy bar of soap that is not usable because it burns your skin, and we don't want that. So it's very important to always run your recipe through SoapCalc before you make it. I know there are a lot of recipes online that tell you exactly how much of what to use, but it's always a good idea to just make sure that you run those numbers through SoapCalc to make sure that they are accurate. We don't want to waste all those fats and oils and have a ruined bar of soap just because we didn't take the time to verify for ourselves that that is the correct amount to use. All right, so let's get over to SoapCalc. You will go to your web browser and type in www.soapcalc.net, and then you'll come up to across the top. They have some different tabs you can click on, and we will click on Recipe Calculator. There are other calculators out there. This is just the one that I like to use. It does look a little bit old school. I know they are in the process of updating it, so watch for changes coming up soon. We are making bar soap. Bar soap uses sodium hydroxide, and NaOH is sodium hydroxide. So that is already selected. We don't need to change that. In science, we use grams. We measure things, we measure mass, but I live in the United States, and so everything for soap making is pretty much in ounces or pounds. All the usage recommendations for anything you're going to be adding is based on per pound of oil in your soap batch. So I use ounces. My recipe I'm making today is 23 ounces of oils. I measured my mold and the depth that I want to fill my mold to, and calculated that I need to use 23 ounces of oil for my batch. We are not going to be changing our lye to water ratio. We're just going to be using the standard one that SoapCalc sets up. If you need to speed up how quickly your recipe is going to move or slow it down, you can change those. But for today, we're just going to leave that um, set at 38. We're not going to be messing with it. Let's see, super fat. In theory, you would have the amount of lye necessary to convert the amount of oil that you're using. However, we are not using certified scales. We are not likely to measure perfectly. So it's always a good idea to include some extra oil in your recipe so that we don't end up with lye heavy bars of soap that we can't use. Standard is 5%. Extra oil to make up for inaccurate measuring or our scales not being accurate. Fragrance. Now, I am making just lavender soap today, and I use Brambleberry's Lavender 4042. Um, Brambleberry has a nice little fragrance calculator that we can use to tell us how much fragrance or essential oil per pound of oil to use. So if you want to go ahead and go to the Brambleberry website, if you're using a Brambleberry fragrance oil or a Brambleberry essential oil. All right, so back to SoapCalc. They want to know how many ounces of fragrance or essential oil we are going to be adding per pound of soap. So when we come over here to Brambleberry, we are going to click on this little calculator and go down to the fragrance calculator. And it will take us to their fragrance calculator. Now I'm using Lavender 4042 essential oil. I will click on that one, click next. What am I making? cold processed soap. And I'm not going to enter here my 23 ounces of oil that I'm using in my complete batch because SoapCalc is asking how much of the fragrance or essential oil we are going to add per pound. So 16 ounces are in a pound. We're going to enter 16 and ounces. I like to stick to the medium recommendations. You can use anywhere between half an ounce if you like very lightly scented soap, and up to almost a whole ounce if you like a really strongly scented soap. So we're just going to take this medium strength number and put it into soap calculator. So 0.72 ounces per pound of soap. Okay, now on to the fun part where we add all of our oils we're going to be using. I am using, let's see, I have 35% olive oil in my bar of soap, and I infused it with some alkanet root to get a nice lavender color for my lavender soap. So I have 35% of that, and I'm going to enter everything in percentages because I can easily scale up or down my recipe size over here, depending on what mold I want to use. Today, I thought it would be nice to just make a small batch of this lavender soap. After that, I have 28% lard. So I need to find lard in the list of oils, and right here we have we raise pigs, and so I render our own lard, and we get quite a bit of lard. So I use quite a bit in my soap. The next thing I use in soap is we have cows. I rendered some tallow. So let's put that in. We have, oops, we do not raise bears. We raise cows, which is beef tallow, and I use 16%. These change depending on how much of what I have available. Right now I have plenty of both, but I do have more lard than tallow in general. Next, people like some bubbles in their soap, and coconut oil is an excellent way to get coconut oil is an excellent way to get bubbles. So I have quite a bit of coconut oil in my soap, 15%. It's castor oil, but we use it at just a small amount. Here's castor oil. I use it at a rate of 5%. I also use beeswax. We have bees, so I add beeswax. All right, so now we come down here to calculate recipe, and voila, it tells us how much of everything we're going to be putting into our soap. You notice that the amount of fragrance oil, or in my case, the lavender essential oil, it tells you right there. That looks like a decent amount. Do I have that amount of everything? Yes, I have 8 ounces of infused olive oil. Yes, I have more than 6 ounces of lard and more than 3 ounces of tallow. I have plenty of coconut oil. I do have an ounce of castor, and I have plenty of beeswax. So this looks good. I have those amounts available to me to make this bar of soap. So I'm going to go ahead and click view and print. Now up here at the top, I like to type in what this recipe is called, and this is actually this is my classic lavender. And I also like to note what mold this is for. So this is in my 2-pound wood mold. I already printed my recipe out. I forgot to add that for this recipe, I infuse 2 tablespoons of alkanet root powder into the olive oil. And I cannot type today. Wow. Okay, it's hard to type and talk at the same time. So that's just something to remind me that, oh, I need infused olive oil for this recipe, or I will end up with a whitish bar of soap. When you are finished, you can go up here to print recipe. Also a new feature, when you use Soap Calculator, this is really nice. It tells everything that you put in your soap so that you can list it on an ingredient label. And then I would also add that I have alkanet root in mine, and that I also have lavender essential oil in mine. And this all goes by weight, so I would need to add them in at whatever point they come in by the weight. All right, so that is how you use SoapCalc. As I said earlier, there are many other soap calculators that you can use. I just learned to use SoapCalc and I like using it, so that is just what I use. You can use other calculators if you would like. Just make sure that you are always running any soap recipe through a lye calculator before you use it. Um, if you change anything in your recipe, you need to rerun it through a soap calculator so that you know how much lye you need so that you don't end up with wacky or dangerous bar of soap. If you have any questions, please leave them in the box down below and I will get back to you. Have a wonderful day. Bye.